Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday. I don't know about you guys, but there's been a lot of information on the news, and there's different ways to look at that. At first, I was like, oh, we're just hearing all this information and being bombarded by it. And then I started to think, what can we do with this information? Why do we keep hearing the same things? What is this going to mean to the future? So I started to think about the positive things that can come from it. And we are experiencing something that has not ever happened before in my lifetime, or your parents' lifetime, or maybe even your grandparents' lifetime. So I think this would be a great opportunity for us to start thinking about ourselves as witnesses to history, what we're going through right now, and from our perspectives. Because your perspective is going to be different from my perspective, which is going to be different from other people's perspectives as well. But we can look at what we're hearing and what we're seeing and decide how we're going to interpret this information, and also how in 30 years from now we look back and say, well, I remember living through that and this is what it was like. So today we're going to start with our first part of being a witness to history. Okay, so the first part of our witness to history is going to be understanding that you yourself are an actual primary source. So some of you may be wondering, what's a primary source? I don't know what a primary source is. Why am I a primary source? Some of you already know this from things we've done in the past. But I also want us to recall there's primary sources and there are secondary sources. So that's what this first assignment is about. What is a primary source? What is a secondary source? How are we becoming a primary source during this time period in history? And we're going to take a look at those different things. First of all, you're going to see this document in Google Classroom. And you have primary versus secondary sources. You have a video here to click and watch and just write 3 facts. You have primary and secondary sources here, which is a little bit more in-depth video, especially for maybe the 7th and 8th graders that have heard about primary and secondary sources before. But 6th graders, it's a good introduction for you as well. And you're going to write some facts down that you hear in that video, just so we get a basic understanding of the difference between primary and secondary sources, and sometimes how a primary source can be used as a secondary source. Then you're going to write a summary of what you learned, and then really, now how are you living in this time period today through the coronavirus or COVID-19? How are you considered a primary source? Then the second part of the assignment is an article. This article I took from the internet and put it in a Google Doc for you so that it wasn't so distracting with all the ads. But everything is there in its entirety. And we can't go on a road trip, so this is kind of like a virtual road trip. Someone going from New York, leaving there and coming home to their parents' farm in northern Wisconsin, and what their trip was like a week ago on the weekend before March 23rd. So I hope you enjoy looking through that and getting more information from a different point of view. So you are going to see you have 5 questions then to answer. Summarize the article. How is this a primary source? How can it be used as a secondary source? What kind of writing is it? So they talked about different kind of writings above, like news and magazines and diaries and journals and textbooks. What kind of specific writing is this that I shared with you? And last but not least, your personal opinion. Kind of make those connections like we do with, text to self, text to text, text to world, or what was really interesting to you, or what you found surprising, or what you found maybe even familiar. There's a couple things I thought about when I saw it that it was familiar to me. Assignment for Wednesday, and it's 1 page in Google Classroom, and all your links are in here. So you should easily be able to find the information and just read and enjoy it.